Welcome back to my channel and thank you for stopping by. On today's tutorial, we're going to be making this beautiful style you are looking at. So this is what we're going to be making today. Kindly subscribe to my channel if you are here too, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell down there to get you an update as I'll be uploading my new videos. Let's get started. So this is my starting line, and the line I'm touching is my hammer. So this line is running as my hammer line, and here is my half length. So I have 15 inches for the half length, and I added 0.5 for sewing allowance. Okay, and from the starting line I went down 1 inch for the shoulder slope. So the wideness of my neck is 3 inches, and I'm going to connect the slope to the wideness of my neck with my ruler and chalk. So this is what I'm marking here. Okay, so I have my bust line and my waistline. So I'm placing the quarter of my bust measurement on the bust line. So I will just add 1 inch. Since we are sewing stretch material, there is no need for adding much allowance. So I'll just add 1 inch at that point. So I'm placing the quarter, and then I'm going to mark 1 inch like I said. So this 1 inch here. Okay, so I'm moving to the half length where I will get my waist measurement. So I have 32 inches for the waist measurement. I'm placing 8 inches, and I'm going to mark this 8 inches, and I'm adding 1 inch as well. So we are sewing stretch material. There's no need of adding much allowance like I said. Okay, so this is the armhole line. So what you are going to do here is to look for the midpoint. So just divide your armhole into 2 and come in 0.5 and mark on that point 0.5 to curve your armhole. Can you see this? Okay, so on that 0.5, so curve it like so. So I'm going to connect the waist to the bust. Okay, so I'm going to look for the volume of my neck. So I chose 4 inches for the depth, front depth. The 4 inches is okay by me. So I chose 4 inches for this, and I'm connecting it to the wideness of my neck. Can you see this? Okay, so I've connected it to the wideness of my neck. Okay, so I'm good to cut. So I'm cutting the shoulder slope. So this is the shoulder slope to the bust and to the waist. Okay, this is the upper part, both front and back of our upper part here. So I told you I have 15 inches, then I added 0.5. That makes it 15.5. So I'm going to cut the neck. So this is what I'm going to be doing, and the full length of the dress we are making is 43 inches. So what I'm going to do is to minus 43 from 15 inches. So this gives me 28 inches. So that shows I'm cutting 28 inches for the lower part of the beautiful dress we are making. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to place my tape measure at the waist area. So we are still maintaining the same waist measurement. You know, we have 32 inches, so divided into 4 gives me 8 inches. I'm placing it, and I'm going to add 1 inch, just 1 inch for sewing allowance. So I'm marking it, and I will add 1 inch as well. Okay, now I'm going down to get the hip point. Here I used I used 8 inches for the hip point. If you are that tall, you could use 9 inches. So I used 8 inches right here. And on this point I'm marking this 8 inches, I'm going to get the quarter of the hip measurement for today's tutorial. So this point that I'm marking, I'm getting my hip, the quarter of my hip measurement. So I'm placing the quarter of my hip measurement, and I'm going to add 1 inch, just 1 inch at that point. So this is what I'm going to do. Okay, so I will mark it like so. So I have 11 inches for my hip measurement, and I'm going down to the lower part of the dress. So I'm going to remove 1 inch from the 11 inches. So this gives me 10 inches, and I'm going to mark this 10 inches at the lower part, and I'm extending the marking to the allowance. Can you see? So I will extend it to the allowance. So what I'm going to do is to take my ruler and start connecting the dots I made from the waistline to the hip line and to the length of the dress you are making. Okay, we have like pleating or ruffle. You can call it ruffle, you can call it pleating, and you can call it ruffle at the both sides of this beautiful dress you are making, as you can see this picture up there. So at the sleeve area we have this, at these two sides we have this. So I cut 8 inches. So when you open it, it's going to give you 8 inches. So this is 4 inches on fold, and I'm going to join this as well. So this is the upper part of the dress we are making, the 15.5 inches. So I'm going to cut the neck. So I've marked the neck. So I have 4 inches for the depth of the neck for the front panel, 2 inches for the back. So this is what I'm going to cut, and this is what I want to use for the pleating, or you can call it ruffle. So the client said she wants paper stay. So this is how I'm going to do it. I added paper stay, and I'm going to plait it on my machine this way. Okay, this is the front and back panel of the upper bodies. So I'm going to join the sewing allowance. So I'm joining the sewing allowance right here. So I'm through with joining. This is the upper bodies of the dress we are making. I'm going to fold it into two, both upper one and the lower one. I'm folding it into two, and I'm going to notch, and I'll do the same thing to the upper bodies. So I'm going to notch this one as well. Okay, so this notching is going to guide me whenever I want to sew, and I'm going to use my pin to hold it down so that it doesn't shift. So I'm using my pin to hold it down at that point, and I will make sure that the two notches match each other. Sorry. So I will use my pin to hold it down. So after this, I'm going to sew. Okay, you know, I left 0.5 for joining allowance. So this 0.5 I'm going to use this 0.5 to sew, to join both upper part and lower part together right here. And this is what I want to do. not going to use lining for this dress, so I cut facing and I'm joining it. So this is what I'm doing here. So I use my 0.5 to do this. So I cut facing for both front and back. So this is what I'm going to use for it instead of lining. Okay? So I'm joining it right here. I'm joining the facing. Okay? So I'm going to notch it. Make sure whenever you join the facing or the lining you are using or whatever you are using, make sure you notch the neck. So I'm notching it. So I'm notching it. So I'm top stitching right here. So if you are using lining, make sure you top stitch on lining. So like my I cut facing, so that shows how the top stitching on facing I cut. Make sure you did not top stitch on the fabric, but top stitch on lining or facing you are using. Okay? So this is what I'm doing here. I'm top stitching. Can you see? I hope you saw it. I have my front panel and back panel of the dress we are making laid down here on the table. So as you can see the style up there is ruffle or pleating. You can call it pleating or ruffle. So I have similar tutorial on this. I have side ruffle dress. So as you can see, so this is what I'm going to do, the ruffle or pleating at the two sides. So can you see? So this is what I'm going to use to achieve this. Okay? So I will place it at that edge and at the other side. So I'm going to sew it. I'm going to sew 0.5. I'm marking 0.5 and I'm joining on that point, on that 0.5. So I'm going to open it for you this way. So I will put it like so. Okay, so this is how I'm going to sew it. So I'm sewing it, I'm joining it on the waistline. Make sure you do not go beyond the waistline. Okay, so I will mark 0.5 and on the shape of the waist to the hip and to the length. So this is how it's going to look like after joining. So can you see? So this is what I want to do, and I will do the same thing to the other side. Okay, so I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So it's going to come out the same way the other one came out. All right? Okay, I told you I'm going to mark 0.5. So I've marked it. So here is the joining section. So I'm going to sew on that line you are looking at. This line you are looking at. So I did the same thing to the upper one, and I'm going to use this one to cover it. So I'm going to sew on that line. I hope you saw this line. So I'm trying to set it. So I'm trying to set it. I want it to lay properly on that point. Okay, so this joining section, I'm joining it. I hope you saw it. So I'm joining the ruffle part of the dress. Okay, so I'm joining it. So I told you we have ruffle for the sleeve as well. So this is what I'm doing here. So I'm pleating the sleeve. We have ruffle for the sleeve and I'm pleating it. So I measure my hammer measurement. I took my hammer measurement, I multiplied it by 2, and you could do by 3. depending on how fuller you want it. So this is what I'm doing. So I'm through with sewing. So I folded it into two and I'm going to notch the midpoint. So this is what I'm doing here. I'm notching the midpoint. So this notching will guide me to get exact place I'm going to place on the shoulder before I start sewing. So I'm going to place this notching part on the shoulder where you join the two shoulders together. So place it this way and I'm going to use my pin to hold it. So I'm using my pin to hold this. And then I'm going to sew. So I'll start sewing this way. So I will start sewing. Okay. So I'm sewing right here. So I'm joining the sleeve to the armhole. Hi guys, here comes the end of today's tutorial on our beautiful ruffle dress, and you can call it pleated side ruffle dress. This is very beautiful. Share my video with your family and friends and tell them to subscribe to this beautiful channel where they can learn how to cut and sew easily. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell down there as to get you an update as I will be uploading my new videos. And I will see you on my next tutorial. Bye.